Hello everyone and welcome to another video campaign diary for Curse of the Crimson Throne, book number 5, The Skeletons of Scarwall, part 2, Castle Scarwall, chapter 16, All Along the War Tower. This will encompass the last 2 sessions, as I neglected to send one out from the last session. We last left the heroes. A owl came into the room and all of a sudden transformed. It transformed into what appears to be the mistress of the hunters they just faced, riding a giant blue wyvern. The undead warrior immediately charges, raking through, in Idris with her powerful sword. With first blows, it seemed like this creature may be too much for the group. But then suddenly, with a flick of his hand and a prayer to Saren Ray, Renan banishes this creature from the mortal coil, leaving just the wyvern left to fight. While the wyvern fights fiercely, realizing that it's more or less going to die, the bows, arrows, and magic spells of the group are no match for it. Or it's no match for their weapons, the group's weapons. And the wyvern lets a ferocious death cry as it drops to the ground. The group debates whether or not this is a good place to rest up and recuperate a little bit, but ever eager to rid this castle of evil, it's just they press on and they decide to do that. They go to the one more place on this part of the castle they have yet to explore, which appears to have been the forge, once worked by the denizens in the castle. On the anvil, they find the magical warhammer, Banu Dor, which, when hefted and later identified, is a finely crafted warhammer with the ability to sheath itself in flame. Having just investigated most of this part of the castle, they decide to go back into what they know as the War Tower now. The War Tower once held the officers and other soldiers on a port. When they enter into a dining room and officers' quarters. They seem to be decorated by gruesome paintings and works of art created by the prelate Zev Revnica, most of them dedicated to the dark god Zon-Kothan. They enter what appears to have once been a guard room, a guard post, being able to see outside the castle, where they encounter 3 of the skeletal minotaurs that they've fought so many times before. The skeletons are no match to the power of the group at this point and are dispatched quickly. The group backtracks a little to the main room where they see stairs that lead up and down. They choose to go up to the second level of the guard tower, the war tower. In the hallway, there isn't anything for them to see, and there's several doors. They enter what appears to have been a record room. There are remnants of books and scrolls and other such documents spread around the room. Over on it, Idris goes to check out what appears to be a table that has some kind of record or scroll. As he looks at it, he sees only the name Cleestat, which he knows to be the former chamberlain of the Castle Scarwall. But in his mind flashes, he sees the cowardice of Cleestat, who, in deciding to betray the great dragon that controlled the castle and flee with the great sword, Sethriel, is instead cursed, as the great thing moves further and further to what he sees as safety in the lower chambers and caverns of the castle. He seems to slowly transform into a worm, crawling along until he's just crawling with the sword this point, Idris is overcome by a feeling of unworthiness, where he is forced to crawl on his hands and knees, feeling himself unworthy to get up and walk. The group attempts to rid their companion of this curse, but realizing that it's stronger than your average curse. The only way to get rid of this curse would be to kill Kleestad. Fortunately for the group, Kleestad also seems to be the person who is protecting or guarding the sword in which they seek. Putting the troubled rogue on Eno's back, the group enters into the next room. The first thing they see when they enter the room is a gargantuan Juju zombie warrior. He hits with his mighty great axe, cleaving into both Eno and Rendon several times. But the group quickly retaliates with the magics of the warlock Gregor, the arrows of the archer Lavinia, the flaming sword of the pointed and sharp jabs of Idris's rapier, and Rendon's spiritual weapon and mace. After a while, the amount of damage the group can do is just far more than the zombie can do, and he comes crashing to the ground, defeated in combat. Upon searching the room, they realize that the room is probably a war ready room. They see half-destroyed maps of the surrounding area, what appear to be documents depicting troop movements, and they see a large sand battle map that appears to be decorated in the surrounding area, and seeing truce placements in the valley and in the surrounding areas. The group realizes that they're just on this floor, so they decide to go further up onto the top floor, where they see a guard post, or a chamber, actually, not a guard post, that seems to have once belonged to General Gorstav. In that room, there are some race that quickly move to encounter them. But from quick thinking, Gregor banishes them from the mortal realm, leaving the remainder ones easy to deal with. While waiting for Gregor's banish spell to wear off and permanently send these wraiths back to whence they came, Eno opens up the door to what appear to be the battlements of the tower, where he sees 3 siege engines that are worn, decayed, and destroyed over time. Upon the battlements, there are 6 giant stone statues, and in the center there appears to be a spiritual elf that they come to identify as a banshee. As they pause, deciding what to do, the banshee opens with its haunting wail, nearly killing Gregor in the process. The statues seem to come to life, flying towards the door, pounding on Eno. Realizing that they may be outgunned, Idris takes one of his beads of force and traps 2 of them in that bead of force. The gargoyles have to move the bead of force out of the way so they can be able to attack. And as they move to attack, the group is peppering them with magic arrows, swords. Idris throws another bead of force, this time pushing the previous one further up off the edge of the battlements, and also entrapping 2 more of the gargoyles. At this point, Gregor loses concentration, and several of the wraiths come back, leaving the group to deal with them and the banshee. The banshee fairly handicapped by a silence spell cast from one of Lavinia's scrolls, but he's still lashing out with life-draining magics and necrotic touches. The group manages to overcome the Banshee in the race, just as Idris uses another one of his force beads to entrap the final two gargoyles, sending the other two tumbling over the edge. The group decides what to do, and they're not certain. They decide to wait and deal with the gargoyles there, but they realize that the gargoyles aren't as dumb as they may look, as they realize the gargoyles have circled around the tower and land on the roof of the general's quarters they have retreated into. Realizing they're quite drained, the group decides to head back to their area of security and safety outside the castle. For this fight, you guys each get, hold on, I do a calculation. Each get 16,520 experience points. As always, let me know if there are any glaring errors or omissions, and thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.